What's up guys, Brian here. Today I'm going to show you guys a couple methods on how to find the least common multiple, or the LCM, for a given set of numbers. This is going to be super important to know for when you go to try to add and subtract fractions, because as you might already know, when you add and subtract fractions you need to have the same denominator, and this is the method we use to find that same denominator. So without further ado, what is an LCM? So the LCM, the least common multiple, is the smallest whole number that is a multiple of the numbers in question. And another way you can think of it is it's the smallest number that both numbers, or all the numbers you're looking at, can be divided into. So let me go and give you an example, and that might clear this up a little bit. So let's say you're given 10 and 25, just to start things out. So say your teacher tells you to find the LCM between these two numbers. So I'll show you the first method, and that's going to be using prime factorization. And if you want to know how to do prime factorization, you can check out my video, which I'll link right up here in the corner. But for those of you who've already watched that or know how to do that already, I'll go and jump into it. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the prime factorization using a factor tree of each of these numbers. So this is going to be 2 and 5, and this is going to be 5 and 5. Now all we're going to do, I can write LCM down here, is we're going to go through here and pick the highest groups of each number and just circle them for now. So here there's only 1, 2 in this whole thing, so we need one. Next one is we have a 5 and we have 2 5s. So like I said, we're going to take the largest group of them and we're going to circle these. So we're going to write them down below now, as we're going to take the circled values that we have and we're going to say 2 times 5 times 5. So the nice thing about this method is it's very systematic, and if you multiply all these numbers together, you're going to get the least common multiple, which is 50. So essentially what this means is that between these two numbers, the smallest number that they can both be divided into, or the smallest multiple of these two numbers, is 50. So this way was a little bit confusing to me when I first learned. It's very useful and very powerful, but I kind of always preferred the brute force method, which I'll show you guys next. Alright, so now we're going to use the brute force method, which I've always found easier because it's just simple and straightforward. So same question as we did just a second ago. We have 10 and 25, we're going to try to find the LCM. So what we're going to do in this case now is we're actually going to have a little table. And we're going to have 10 and 25. And we can just do a table. And essentially, we're just going to go down the list and do brute force method of finding multiples. So for this one, we'll say 1. So 1 times 10 is 10. 1 times 25 is 25. 2. So 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 25 is 50. 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 25 is 75. And so on to 4 times 10 is 40, 4 times 25 is 100, and then across, and we're going to do one more here, and 5 times 10 is 50, 5 times 25 is 125. So what you'll see here is it's a little bit more tedious, it's a little bit brute force, but all we're doing is looking for two numbers that are going to be the same. The first numbers that you come across as you go down this list, that is going to be your LCM. So the nice thing about this method, especially when you start to go doing adding and subtracting of fractions, is you can tell right away that, okay, well, 10 times 5 is going to give me 50, and 2 times 25 is going to give you 50. So you know exactly how many multiples of each of those numbers you're going to need to get to that LCM. So let's do one more example and show you how it would look if you're using it in a fraction type of setting. So now let's go and do a problem that's going to give us a peek into where we're heading with all of this, which is going to be adding and subtracting fractions. So in this video, I'm not going to show you how to actually do the arithmetic of adding the fractions, but I am going to show you that when you are adding fractions or subtracting fractions, you need to have a like denominator, and how this whole LCM thing is going to play into that. So let's say you're given 1/6 plus 3/4. So when we get two fractions, we need to have the same denominator. So what we're going to do when we have a fraction we're adding or subtracting is we're going to need to find the LCM of the denominators. So in this case, we need to find the LCM between 6 and 4. So I'll show you guys using both of those methods I just went over how to do that. So let's start with 6 and 4 using the brute force method. So we have our table, which we're going to do right here. And we know that 1 times 6 is 6, 1 times 4 is 4. And then 2 times 6 is 12, 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 6 is 18, 3 times 4 is 12. So we can see here, with just a couple iterations in, that we have our common numbers just in the third spot here. So what this is saying is that the LCM, using this method, is going to be 12. So 12 is a number that both of these numbers can go into or be divided into, or 12 is a multiple of both these numbers, any way you want to say it. So let's do it one more time using that other method, which is the prime factorization method, and I'll show you. We'll get to the same exact spot. So we have, again, 6 and 4, and we can break this down using prime factorization, which is 2 and 3 and 2 and 2. And again, we go through here and we take the biggest groups of each number that we're given. So we have 1 2 here, and we have 2 2s. So we're going to take the bigger group of those. So now we're going to put 2 times 2. And we have 1 3, so we're going to write that one down. And so the LCM is, again, 2 times 2 times 3, which is 4 times 3, which is 12. So as you can see here, as far as we're going to go in this video is finding the LCM, but in the next video I'm going to show you guys how to actually add and subtract fractions. So hopefully this was helpful. I know that a lot of you guys have homework problems that will be asking you to find just the LCM, and that's always a prerequisite before we add and subtract fractions. So I really hope this helped you guys out. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to comment or have any questions, go ahead and put them below, and please subscribe to the channel if you'd like to support. Thanks, guys.